Hey, Padcast audience, it's producer Charlie, just hitting you with a quick content warning. This episode's going to be featuring mentions of abuse, assault and physical abuse, and quite a bit of dark humor. We love you so much. Thank you always for listening, and without further ado, here we go.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of season 2 of Your Mom's Podcast, the only podcast that's worth walking out on a date with one of Degrassi's coolest girls. I'm Caroline,
And I'm Avis.
and today we are talking about Degrassi The Next Generation, season 2, episodes 1 and 2, both parts of When Doves Cry. Roses are red, violets are purple like Craig's bruises. Albert Manning is trash, so his son he abuses. It felt a little weird writing a poem about this one. I don't know how many quippy poems I'll have for season 2 as things get darker. But before we get into the plot, do you want to talk a little bit about the new title sequence?
Yeah. So it's pretty much the same except for the introduction of Greg and Joey at
Yeah.
the end there, which I think is a cute tack on it. I think it makes it like an extra 5 seconds, something like that. But it's just Joey posing with the boys basketball team, which eventually
I think
it's
it's
like
the
a
hockey team.
oh right, it is the hockey
But
team.
it because
It's
they're
the floor
definitely
hockey.
hockey
It's floor hockey.
jerseys.
Yes, it's floor hockey. So it's about like it's basically him holding up the hockey jersey with his used car lot being
Jeremiah
advertised on the back.
Motors,
Yeah,
yeah.
Jeremiah Motors on the back, and then Craig's taking a picture of it, which is Craig's motif. He's just always snapping that Nikon. So
Yeah.
it's a good intro to their
I
characters.
feel like the writers had some weird bias against like used car salesmen because I
Hmm.
feel like every opportunity they have to be like, look how cheesy Joey is. They're like,
Yeah,
hey,
they
look how
definitely.
cheesy Joey is.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. At least the theme song's still the same. I
Thank
personally think this
goodness.
is the best theme song.
It is. And honestly, the intro, I love the it going around the school intro. We still get it for a while, so won't get too deep into it, but it does change. Spoiler alert. And it gets less good. So
It does get less good. All right. So, the plot for When Doves Cry, part 1 and 2. School is back in session, and Degrassi High has been shut down, which means that Degrassi Community School is now home to grades 7 through 12. Jimmy's still being a dick to Sean. Paige and her crew are icing Ashley out, and new kid in town, Craig Manning, has all the girls whispering in the hallways. But Craig's brooding sad boy mystique is more than just a fashion statement. He's actually dealing with some pretty horrifying abuse at home. This, combined with grieving his dead mother and longing for the family he could have had with her, his stepfather Joey Jeremiah, and sister Angie, is all getting to be too much. And Craig is on the verge of doing something drastic. Also, in this episode, Paige has horrible hair. Now, she could just like run a comb through it and look in the mirror while she's styling it, but instead she goes on a date with JT so that Hazel and Spinner will pay her the $30 that she needs to go to the salon.
yeah. I feel like I definitely that was my whole thought throughout Paige's entire little issues. Just like wash your hair and then comb it.
Right, and
Um
like
because it doesn't
it
look
was
very moisturized. I know the products that we were working with at this time were not as luxurious as we are working with in 2023, but yeah, there's she needed some product and she needed a comb and a
right,
brush. So it just needed to be
right.
smoothed out. Paige was looking hella frizzy.
Well, and they were just like it looked like they were going out of their way to make it look bad because she has it like pinned
Mhm.
back on both sides and like kind of pushed up a little bit, which is a cute style.
It is cute.
Except the way that she's doing it is very poorly done.
It's like they're trying to create volume, like in a negative way, where there is no volume in her hair.
Right.
So it definitely comes off. Look, it kind of gave me how they fluffed out Emma Watson's hair in the first two Harry Potters.
Mhm.
It gave me those kind of vibes, just less dramatic. It's just like,
Yeah.
did you guys just like comb the shit in the wrong direction out of this girl's hair? Um, but yeah,
It's
it's bad,
it's bad.
but too
And
dramatic.
she could just grab a comb, but instead she's going to go out on a date with JT, which I have to say, and I had forgotten, I actually really love their relationship.
Yes, I think it's adorable. It's
I
kind
think
of
it's very sweet.
yes, it's part of, I think, one of my notes was just that this is part of Paige's redemption arc, because they spend the next couple of episodes, or at least this episode, they give her a little bit of vulnerability, and they show
Mhm.
us that does respond to peer pressure, and she is very heavily motivated by what her friends think of her. So the fact that she is having a legitimately good time on this date with JT, and then Hazel and Spinner pop up and are the biggest douchebags I think I've ever seen them
They're
been.
such dicks in this
They are
episode.
shitty and smarmy. I hate a smarmy. It's just not a good look. But that little peek of her actually enjoying herself and being genuine, I think is just, I'm like, yes, Paige, thank you
Mhm.
for, thank you writers for realizing that she could be a character that is dynamic and not just the mean girl, because
Right.
usually the mean girl is heavily insecure and has got a lot of issues. So I love that they gave her that chance to get that redemption arc on the road, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I agree. Craig's dad is fucking terrifying.
So I actually had to look up the actor's name, because I was just like, Hugh Dillon, and not producer Dillon. His last name is Dillon. He is terrifying in this role, and I dislike him so much, which means he is a really great actor. The way that he was hitting Craig with the book, and just the intensity of that scene, gets
Mhm.
me every time. Like, those scenes are extremely tense. The way that they're filmed is so candid, and there's no music behind it except for like tense beats of
Mhm.
instrumentation. So I really think that those are strong and really realistic depictions of abuse, even better than the 80s series, which I don't say that often, that the 80s series did it and Next Generation did it better.
Not to like jump ahead to the end of the episode, but when Craig is getting his shit to go move in with Joey,
Mm-hmm.
and like his dad's like, I love you, let's talk this out and whatever. And then Craig's
And don't leave me like your mother. Don't be like your mother.
right. And he's like, I can go to child services, I can go stay with Joey while we work this out, or I
Mm-hmm.
can stay here and let you beat me. And his dad's like, I don't beat you. And it's like,
Yeah,
on some level, like, I think he genuinely believes that, which I think is
I
a
do
kind
too.
of common thing with abusers. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that they portray it really well.
They do.
I also think Jake Epstein's acting is terrific in this episode.
Like, what an introduction as a kid, like,
Hmm.
to for his character. Like, I really think that just the fact that, aside from him taking pictures of Angie, the first real dialogue we get from his character is in a extremely verbally abusive situation. And I mean, there's physical threat, but he doesn't get hit. And it's just a really powerful, and I really think it's like a jarring introduction to his character, but it's like it gives you everything you need to know about what he's going
Well,
through.
right. We've got him getting abused. We've got
Mm.
him contemplating kidnapping his sister and running away.
Mm-hmm.
We've got him hiding in the trees, taking pictures and like going into his dark room and just like longing for this family. We've got
And
him,
doing some impressive, like, pre-Photoshop, like some Photoshop shit with film, which is
yeah,
like, I guess in the developing process, he's, yeah.
we've got him almost killing himself.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like there's so much that this kid is going through. I honestly think
In
that
one
like
episode, well, in a two-parter, which I really just consider one long episode. It just really
this
is.
is
So
this episode is why I am a Craig apologist, and I always will be. Because
I
right out the gate, we're just like, this poor kid
goes through it every day. Like,
every
there's really,
day.
even if he's got a day where his dad doesn't beat his ass, there's still intimidation, there's still emotional manipulation, and there's
Right.
still the looming threat of abuse. And
Right. And having to
it's
like
so prevalent.
navigate which
Hmm.
dad am I dealing with in this
It's
moment?
eggshells. Oh, it's extremely, and I feel like it's relatable. Like,
Hmm.
like the fact that they show the varying forms of what it can take, because he's not getting his ass beat all the time, but there are triggers to his father, and he's not always sure what they are.
Well, I mean, I think to me, one of the most insidious things about an abusive relationship, and I mean parent child, romantic partner, fucking friends, physical abuse, emotional abuse, whatever you're dealing with, is that like not every second is bad. and
Yeah.
some seconds are good, because it has to
Mhm.
be that way, because if it was just always bad, you would
Right.
leave.
You would recognize that this is just so bad. I gotta, yeah.
And so it sucks because you finally get away from it, but there are still these things where you're like, oh, but remember that time we did such and such and it was so wonderful, and you have to grieve the good parts, and it's really hard. And
You definitely see that. I don't think,
yeah,
and I mean that's why I really appreciate this portrayal, is because it's not one-sided. It's not, or not one-sided. It's not one note. Like there's multiple angles you can look at it from, even, going into Craig's father being a surgeon and feeling like, okay, I'm successful, I've made it, and then having your wife leave you for someone, God, that
that
status
you
symbol
think less
thing
of.
that you
Yeah.
think less of, that status symbol shit is apparently, I don't know, I'm not a guy, apparently really important to some guys. So especially around this time, I feel like corporate America was just a lot more,
Mhm.
it was just a lot different of a vibe. But having all of that stress, Craig apologizes for him a lot because it is understandable that he is a stressed out person. But a lot of the ways that he deals with it is because he doesn't have any emotional maturity. And
Right.
like
Right.
he has no way, like he literally, the one part in this episode that gives me chills is when his dad brings home fucking Veggie Tales, like on the VHS.
Is
And
that
then,
what the movie was?
the internet told me that, Caroline. I had no
Okay.
idea that, because like before it was HD and you could just see it plain
Mhm.
as day. Someone zoomed in on that shit and they were like, why did he go and rent Veggie Tales for him
Yeah,
and
that's a
Craig?
little weird.
That's a little weird. He's not a toddler. But the way that he is on, once he gets the phone call from Joey and he's looking at Craig, and then Craig runs up the stairs and he comes after him with a
With a
golf club,
fucking golf club.
like just like tossing it, and like, yeah, I'm gonna go get this son of a, like, it's so scary. Like I legitimately get chills from it because it's so real and scary, the way that played out.
The only thing that kind of took me out of it a little bit was that Craig was packing a bag. And I
Hmm.
feel like a kid that grows up in that home has a bug
Has
out
a
bag.
bag, right? Yeah, that's some real shit. Caroline already, like, just has a bag ready to go and
Right.
get out of there whenever he needs to. And I think that that's a good point, especially because he has been always, he's been talking about just skipping town. Like he's just like
Yeah.
casually talking about going to British Columbia with Angie, and just going on the street when he's talking to Sean. Like it's very much, yeah, he's got one foot out of the door mentally. But
Right.
there's, I mean, there could also be said for the fact that he hasn't packed a bag, because maybe he doesn't realize, maybe it's escalating. It's kind of hard to tell. You assume by getting into this, being brought into the situation, that it's been happening a while, obviously, but it
Mhm.
maybe is getting more frequent, and it's just getting harder to not set him off or whatever it is, because he's back in within Angie's distance, and he's obviously going to break the rules or whatever to go see
Right.
Angie.
There was one moment actually that I noticed where I really liked her acting, which
Mm-hmm.
was when they're in the park and she sees Craig's bruises.
Yes,
And
that
he
is the legit.
tells
Yes.
her, that it was the dinosaur and whatever, and she asks, "Did it hurt?" And he
Mm-hmm.
says, "Yeah." And there's this, cuz he's played dinosaur with her and it doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's her there's this moment where it's like you can see Angie trying to make sense of that
Mm-hmm.
and reconcile that with like the world that she knows, which is that people don't hurt her.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely an
And
eye opener for her. She does
and
play
there's
that
a
well.
minute of like face acting there that I thought was really good.
It's definitely like they don't give her a whole lot to do other than be, cute, and she does get to further the plot though. And I feel like that's a good,
Mm.
like if you had an
Well,
actor under 10, that's all you can really ask for. I like how, she, like I said, she's able to advance the plot, and just having Joey, telling Joey like, no, like a dinosaur hurts him.
that's okay. That's something that I want to ask about is like, so are we under the assumption then that Albert Manning did not become abusive, physically abusive at least?
Mm-hmm.
until after Julia had left, maybe even after she had died.
I can't. Right. I feel like.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the thing, is like the way that Joey, like, one, keeps going to Craig's dad about shit,
Right.
and
That's kind of my
two,
gripe. Yeah.
when
That's kind of my
Sean's
gripe.
like, yo, he's getting beat, Joey's like, that's a very serious allegation. And like, you would think, because abusers are abusive. So it doesn't track to me that he wouldn't have abused Julia. And if he abused Julia, Joey would know about that.
Which is very valid, and I don't know that the writers considered that, because I really want to say that perhaps the writers didn't consider that because it's been 5 years since she died.
No, it's only been a
So, or
year or
oh,
two
year
years since she
she died
died
in
now.
99, right? She died in 99. The wedding was 5 years ago. But I think that timeline wise, it wouldn't make sense that, like, I and not even timeline wise, character wise, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense that he just suddenly became an abuser overnight. I think that he was abusive, and it's like as a result of his stress, as a result of his job, and him
Mhm.
having no emotional regulation or maturity. He is always going to, like, I just think he's always been that way, and whether it's like varying forms of degrees, or it's just not consistent, whatever that is.
Maybe it
um
just never really got physical with Julia.
yeah, because that's a fair point. Like, I just think that if anyone knows anything about abuse, it's that the abuser will act one way just to get a lot of people on their side, or to have control over what people think of them, and then they're completely different behind closed doors. That's kind of how they need to be, because if you're just beating ass in the street and saying, I'm beating ass in the street, I'm kicking my kid's ass, like, that's not gonna that just
Right.
has no longevity. Like, he thrives with no, like, being the perfect looking dad, and no one would ever think that he would hurt Craig. That has to be what it is. And I mean, I guess that's why Joey is so like, oh, that's a serious accusation. But I actually kind of look at Joey like, really, Joey?
Well,
Like, I need you to not be like, not even, not that like he doesn't want to take it at face value, but it's more just like, oh no, that's so outlandish, there's no way. Like, that's kind of the air I'm getting. Whereas it's just like, the second question I would ask is, what is your proof? Why do you think this? Versus, because kids
right.
don't just come up with that shit. Like, I know people like to like demonize kids sometimes, but like, these are like, Sean's almost 15 at this point, Emma's 13, like, they are kids. They are not going to go around just telling parents that kids they know are getting beat by their
Right.
parents. That's not
Right.
something that kids fabricate. And I think that on that premise, or on that basis, that Joey should have taken it, a little bit, like, it shouldn't have been like, no, no. And then, I don't know where he's coming
Well,
from.
so one thing I think that's worth considering is, one thing, first of all, about his response is, I think Joey's trying to navigate this situation in a way that's
Mm-hmm.
respectful. If he doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know that Craig's dad is abusive, like,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like it wasn't like Craig's parents got divorced and then she met Joey. It sounds like Joey was one of, like, a catalyst for that relationship ending. So he probably feels like, I already stole this dude's wife. I can't just come in and like accuse him of beating his kid. And I think that's part of it, but I think another part of it is that we have a way broader understanding of abuse than we
Mm-hmm.
did 20 years ago. Like, collectively, we've
That's true.
started to identify emotional abuse as abuse and really
Mm-hmm.
talk about it and call it out in a way that we weren't back then.
Right.
And so Joey, as a person who likely hasn't been on the receiving end of the kind of abuse that Julia would have been subjected to, assuming
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't physical abuse,
Right.
Julia telling him about Albert Manning, he's probably just like, wow, that guy's a dick. Whereas now you would be like, oh, well, that's gaslighting and this is emotional manipulation.
Yeah, it definitely, looking at it from the 20-year lens, is very sobering, because you realize how far we've come as a society, and just not blaming people for the things that
Mm-hmm.
abusive people do to them. Like, I mean, but even with that 20-year lens, like, this subject is handled so carefully, and I really appreciate the nuance that they give to not only Craig's character, but also his dad. Like, his dad is the villain, but he's
Mm-hmm.
not the villain. Like, it's weird. Obviously, there's more to his arc, which I can't spoil and I won't spoil, but I think that even in this episode, there are nuances.
Abusive people don't just decide to be abusive people. Like, you become that way either because you've experienced it, or you grew up in a house where that's how your dad was to your
Mm-hmm.
mom, or like whatever the thing may be. And I hesitate with the idea that anybody is just purely evil, and I would
Mm-hmm.
concede that there are maybe some exceptions to that rule.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I think that by and large, people are complex and complicated, and we all have trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah,
complicated. And fuck
it
Craig's
is.
dad,
It
too.
fucked Craig's dad. I think, like, watching this, because I realized that this is around the time I started watching live. I think I actually started watching live in season 2, but I remember season 2 way, like, more, like, vividly than I remember season 1, and I just think it's because the rewatchability is higher for season 2.
Hmm.
But I remember watching the shit out of these 2 episodes, or this two-parter, because I felt the authenticity of it, and it really affected me. And I think when I was younger, it was a lot more of a black and white episode. And I didn't identify with Craig's dad, not like I identify with him specifically now, but I see him as more of a person versus just the big bad guy. Whereas that's what I was coming from when watching it as a kid. And I was
Hmm.
really surprised watching it again, even from the pandemic, because just being in a different headspace of getting ready to start my family and things of that nature have made me think about things from a parental point of view, even though I'm not a parent yet.
As a side note,
Mhm.
have you ever read the book The Third Life of Grange Copeland?
No.
So it's Alice Walker's first novel. Her big thing that
Hmm.
everybody knows is Color Purple.
Hmm.
And it's basically like in 3 parts, and it follows the life of this man Grange Copeland, who's a father and a sharecropper, and his wife is sleeping with everybody, and he goes and works land that he doesn't own, and he comes home and he beats his wife and his kid and whatever. And it really paints the picture of how, like, the ways that society, and this is not at all to excuse this behavior, like, get some fucking
Right.
therapy, although that didn't used to be an option, but the ways that,
Hmm.
like, for men in particular, like, society just takes from you and emasculates you and breaks you down to
Hmm.
nothing,
Right. And tells you not to cry.
and tells you not to cry,
Or
and you
express
can't,
any
like, you can
emotion.
feel happy and you can feel angry, and that is
Right.
it.
That's it. Yeah, definitely.
And so, like, in the first part of it, he is a bad man, but you also understand why. And then the second part follows his son in adulthood, and his son
Hmm.
has become awful as well. And then the third part is this beautiful redemption arc where he's an older man, he's softened a lot,
Hmm.
he's now taking care of his granddaughter, and it's just the two of them out on this farm. And it's this, like, it's a really beautiful tale of redemption, and also it's a really good exploration of how abusive men in particular can become that, and not in a way
Yeah.
that excuses it,
Yeah.
but in a
It's
way where you do have empathy for it.
right. I think that's the key. Is I think I'll definitely have to watch this episode again once I am a parent.
Hmm.
And I'll probably have a whole different feeling about it, but I definitely found myself empathizing more than I ever have with Craig's dad, just because I can understand what it is like to be an adult and have a host of responsibilities, but also I can't understand what it's like to be a man. And
Right.
in this society, I know it's hard enough being a woman. It's just a whole different set
It's a
of
whole no.
rules.
The older I get, the more sympathy I have and the more understanding I have for how hard I think it is to grow up a man in this
Hmm.
world. And honestly, even with all the privilege they get,
Yeah.
I'm happy that I was raised a girl.
Hmm.
I get to feel things.
Definitely right. And I think I really like that you said, like, you know, anger, because I think that's just the most encouraged emotion in men is
Mhm.
anger. I love little boys because of like how sweet they are. A little boy is like the sweetest thing before he grows up and turns into like a, I don't
A
know, whatever
thing a thing I have really come to cherish is spending time in the woods with men that I feel safe being in the woods with,
Hmm.
because they all turn into a little boy.
Yeah, it's I think it's something to be said for boyhood. Like I feel like girlhood, you know, it lasts a longer time because girls are it like girlhood doesn't really girlhood and womanhood are very similar.
Mhm.
I think, you know, we're not expected to really like emotionally change. You know, we are I feel like women inherently are taught to be emotionally mature, you know, like control yourself, etc. What not all of us are,
Well, and so
but
much
we're given more of the tools to be.
responsibility.
Yes, and right, and that is how you're regulating yourself because you're being taught to do other things that are very important, or so you're told. But I think that just I try to my girlfriend, she's very close to her nephew, and he is going to be 3 in January. So we spend a lot of time with him because he's not in school yet. We take him out everywhere. And I think like the sweetest thing about him is how he laughs. His laugh is so sweet and innocent and pure, and I really just wonder how he's going to be when he grows up,
Mhm.
because I just think that there's something that happens when boys are not allowed to, if they're not expressing as many feelings. They're taught not to cry. It feels so good to cry and release those emotions. And I'm just so sad for men who feel like they can't cry.
Mhm.
Like you're
No.
just holding so much shit inside, and then you just go smash your fucking son's door with a golf club about it
Mhm.
instead of like crying about it.
Right. No, that was one of the things that like really drew me to my husband was he cries.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not like he cries all the time, but he cries,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's for really dumb shit. Like he cried when Nadia won her season of British Bake Off. That man cried tears of joy for a woman
Oh,
he does not know who
yeah.
won a baking competition where the prize is literally just a cake stand.
That is a really shitty prize. I better be a really nice cake stand.
She ended up getting like her own show and some book deals
Yeah.
out of it, so she's
So
fine.
exposure, but like no cash prize for you. Yeah, I definitely think it's important.
It's good for you.
Just take a good weep. I feel like, you know, schedule it in if you can't just have it on the fly. I feel like watch the last episode of 6 Feet Under
Even
with
just the
no
last 20 minutes,
context.
just the last like
Just the
20
last 20
minutes.
that's true. That's the last 20 minutes is what hits. Please, you will sob like a literal newborn. It is gonna work for
I
you.
I think though what I'm noticing with the Zoomers and Gen Alpha
Mhm.
is a lot more emotional maturity. I think, you know, like
Definitely.
our parents just like did not deal with their shit. They came
Mhm.
home and they drank and they beat their wives about it.
Yeah.
And then our parents' generation, like some of them started going to therapy, more so the women than the men, and it was very
Mhm.
hush hush.
Yeah.
And then our generation is like, oh my God, I have to tell you what my therapist said yesterday.
Right.
And very open about it. And I'm seeing like the Gen Z kids that I know
Mhm.
are amazing when it comes to emotional maturity. And they're gonna raise their kids that way. And
Absolutely.
so your nephew may be all right. But yeah, let
I
him
think he's
cry.
definitely like let little boys cry, and I do agree with that. I think if we're talking generational trauma, Gen X is kind of the turning point, and I do think Craig's dad would be Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the turning point. Millennials, we cuspers, we there's been more of an
We
effort.
still got issues.
there's so
No,
many
I
issues.
have you
But-
noticed this new thing with Disney movies where like the villain is generational trauma, like in Encanto and Turning Red?
Mm-hmm. Oh, Turning Red was so great. I have not seen Encanto yet,
Oh.
and I know. I keep get first. I was really late to the Coco party, and Coco made me fucking sob.
Oh, dude,
and
Coco.
and then once I watched Turning Red, that made me cry.
Turning Red is so
It
beautiful.
was beautiful. It was
And
beautiful.
like, have you seen that video of Sandra Oh at like it's some award show or something? And fuck, what's the name of the band now? I can't remember. The fake band in Turning Red that they're super into.
Oh gosh, I know they're a boy band fucking riff, but I don't remember.
Dylan, as a producer, you need to look up the band from Turning Red.
Like I do know.
But Sandra Oh is at some like award show or something going on, and there's like a live performance of that fake band. What is it?
It's
Four Town. I knew it had a 4, but I kept thinking Boys for Now. And they're singing that song, and Sandra Oh is like fangirling about it. I'll send it to you. It's a really, really cute video of her just rocking the fuck out to this fake band.
Oh my gosh. I just think that whole movie was so fucking cool. And it was set in Canada. It's
I know,
Canadian.
it is Canadian.
So it's Canadian. It's subtly Canadian, but it's subtly, but not. I feel like they reference it a couple times, but
you got to watch Encanto though, because
I will. It is on my list.
They're both
not the void list, the actual list.
And Coco falls into that too of like, nope, the villain is generational trauma, and a little bit Ernesto de la Cruz. Fuck that guy. But then Encanto and Turning Red in particular both have these fathers who are like, I have seen how this generational trauma has fucked with my wife, and I hate it, and I'm not gonna let this happen to my daughter. And it's fucking love to see it.
Absolutely.
To get back into Degrassi though, because we probably should.
Yeah, I think we're on track. I also want to bring up what I feel like the one thing that took me out of this episode, aside from its content, is I'm just paying way too much attention to the little details in the dialogue. But okay, so Craig was away at camp for the summer. I want to know what camp he was at, but that's not my question is, where did he go to school before he went to Degrassi? Because for 7th and 8th grade, where did he go and where was he living?
Well, okay, so
and why is he just like
the way that my school district worked, the one that I grew up in and went to school in until I went to a cult, was like there were 3 elementary schools, and then when you went to middle school, there were 3 lower elementary schools, K through 3, and then there were 3 upper elementary schools, 4 through 6. And so you'd go to whatever elementary school, and then you'd go to your upper elementary, and some of your classmates from the last school would be there, but some of them wouldn't. And there'd be new kids and whatever. And then middle school, there were 3 middle schools, and then there were 3 high schools.
You had a big school district.
I did have a big school district.
It was similar. There was like 4 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and then just 1 high school. So everybody came together in high school, and it was a massive high school. But I definitely that I'll accept that, because personally I don't like that, like, we didn't get Craig before. Now, like, obviously it's a strong entry to his character, but I'm like, where was Craig?
Well, because there's other new kids too, Ellie's new, Marco's new. So I think that's what it is there were separate middle schools, and then all of these kids were supposed to go to Degrassi High.
Oh, okay.
And then it got shut down.
Okay, separate middle schools. Okay, because I was thinking, didn't we get Ellie before now?
Mm-mm.
No,
we haven't even gotten Ellie yet.
I watched ahead. No, I took notes on that already. So we have not gotten Ellie yet because we get like a whole intro episode where like like a bunch of characters are introduced, and it's not this one. Okay.
So
All
a
right,
small, not really important thing I want to point out is Craig in the scene with the train, which is really fucking intense. And
Oh yeah, definitely.
he
Huge
and
scene.
Daniel Clark both do excellent jobs. But
Mhm.
then, yet again, Degrassi hits us with the student is going through something traumatizing. Let's have them run away really awkwardly. Sean's like,
I
what
mean,
the
they
fuck's wrong with you?
gotta.
And Craig's like running, his arms are
Yeah,
flopping.
like wacky inflatable,
wacky waving
wacky
inflatable arm
inflatable
flailing tube man.
Yes, that's exactly like it's bad, and his skateboard flying up in the air.
Oh my god! Do we ever see Craig with a skateboard ever again?
I'm pretty sure we don't.
We're gonna have to keep an eye out for that.
We're gonna have to keep an eye out for that because I really, I think the skateboard is just a little.
I like how people will have like random hobbies for an episode or two where it's essentially just so they can have this prop.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Like you thought we wouldn't notice. We noticed.
And then
we got questions.
Another thing that I noticed or I wondered about is, so spoiler alert, and we won't get heavy into it, but down the line, a couple of seasons, Craig gets diagnosed with a personality disorder. And watching this episode knowing that, I kind of wonder if they had that planned from the start. Because yeah, he is a kid in crisis, in a crisis situation, but there's more there. This kid is
definitely
unwell.
He is. And it's like there's definitely the impulsiveness and just not being in touch with reality to a point that it becomes extremely prevalent in not even, we don't even have to wait that long to get
right
to get that sort of behavior that's like, okay, there's something deeper going on. I just think that it's all kind of coming at him like a train, and he's having to deal with a lot at one time. And I think that's kind of, he's around the age where the illnesses start to manifest more because of puberty and everything.
Right.
So he's in the thick of it, unfortunately.
I also have to throw a little bit of shade at Emma for being
Emma's
the worst babysitter ever. And like, you have to do math homework. Go to the park, sit at the park, let Craig play with Angie while you do your math homework.
No, Emma, she can't study in the natural light. She needs fluorescence. You can't.
You would think she would want nature, little Miss Tree Mail.
She miscalculated her role in the situation. And I mean, that is an Emma thing. It's not going to go away. But Emma sees multiple opportunities to, she has a little crush on Craig, so that motivates her a little bit. But then she also, quote unquote, wants to do what's right. I don't know. And it's not wrong, but it's just like, this is not your place.
Cause it's fucked up, but also you're a child, and there are so many things here that
you don't
understand.
You are just her babysitter, Emma. Like, leave the parenting to me, which I appreciate Joey saying, because you're literally making parental decisions. Like, you don't know the situation, and you're literally handing off a child that was entrusted to you to, I mean, not like he's gonna but you don't know the situation.
But like, okay,
you just met him.
Do I think that like Craig is gonna hurt Angie? Nobody might. He might kidnap her.
He's gonna kidnap her, but it's gonna be.
Do I think that like Albert is gonna hurt Angie? Also no. But what if Albert shows up at the park?
Right. And then Angie's exposed to that.
And that's enough.
Yeah, it is. And Emma's not like, one of my notes was just that this is the adolescent point of view that Emma is still in the fact that she has no foresight. She is not thinking about any consequences, any variables in this situation. What if Joey comes home early? What if they lost track of time and, he doesn't drop her off when he's supposed to, and then Joey's worried? Like, she doesn't, what if his dad comes to the park? She's not thinking about anything but herself, really.
No, I mean, I do think that she, she hears the Craig situation, and it's like, yeah, it's not fair. This is his sister. Why won't you let him be around his little sister? Like,
Well, I think she's thinking of him in that vein,
but
but
you
then what
do.
the
I te-
babysitting vein.
I think I said in the group chat today that, like, you can totally see her little brain working as
Mhm.
she's listening to
Yeah.
that conversation, being like, "What's this? A just
Yes.
cause? I can save the day."
It's definitely, it's sus. She's already like I think you see her floating in the background of Joey and Craig's conversation at the little party they have for Spike, and
Yeah.
her just being like, I kind of want to stick my head in here and continue to pry. But I mean, ultimately, Emma does help. You know, she helps Joey find him, and she
Yeah.
also helps Joey take the situation a little bit more seriously, which leads to Craig being removed from his household with his
Right. And
daughter.
Joey does, as soon as Joey knows what's going on, Joey steps the
Yeah,
fuck
Joey's,
up and is like,
and he
"No, this
handles
is
it
my
well.
right."
I like him saying, you know, like we talked about, he knows that this has to happen. Like those are very, I feel like he knows that like how hard the situation is, and he is really trying to prepare him as best
Mhm.
he can, because ultimately he is stepping in right now. But I feel like from Joey's point of view, he doesn't know how long this, you know, he will have to put positivity into Craig's life. And he's trying to give him tools and, like, you know, set boundaries and actually make sure that he, not even make sure, but do everything in your power to set
Mhm.
those boundaries and go in, come out, you know. And I really appreciate that ending scene for, you know.
And I have to respect Emma because,
Mhm.
she wasn't aware of what was going on with Sean. Or with Craig. So
Right.
presumably what happened is a frantic Sean Cameron, who she is not fucking talking to, thank you very much,
Yeah,
shows
she's
up at her house and is like, "This kid we barely know is in crisis and I need your help."
yeah,
And she's like, "Yep, okay." And I
absolutely.
I respected that. I like that they showed up together and, like, didn't hate
They're the
Emma.
concerned parties, yeah. And I mean, it's, I definitely think that for my issues with Emma, they're going to be constant. There's all, like, I feel like there's, she is motivated by trying to do the right thing, and for her the right thing is always different, but I feel like without her interference the outcome wouldn't have been as smooth. The fact that she involved herself and continued, and I mean, kudos to Sean as well
Mhm.
for, you know, being a friend and actually standing up and being witness to what's going on.
I think that Emma's heart is in the right place. I think that Emma is also very much like white girl goes to Africa.
Hmm.
Where you go on that trip to, like, where you spend a bunch of money to go build a house or something that you have no business building. And every night when
Take
your
all
little
these
group goes to
pictures.
sleep, all the men have to go and redo your work.
Oh my gosh.
And you take
Yes. That's the worst.
so many pictures. I had an
Yeah.
ex who, after we broke up, he went to Kenya and he played
He actually went
violin.
to Kenya.
He went to Kenya with Darcy, not with Darcy. He played violin, and he got a Facebook shortly before he went to Kenya. And then for, like, the first 3 years that he had his Facebook, his picture was him playing his stupid violin in, like, a circle of presumably Kenyan orphans.
Oh
And
my.
it used to, TMI, but it used to, like, it was for me a perfect picture of exactly the, like, problematic nature of that kind of travel, because
Hmm.
I know for a fucking fact that the face he makes when he plays the violin, the face that he is making in that fucking picture, is also the face that he makes when he whacks it. And I
That
think
is
so, I'm like,
nasty.
because I think that kind of shit is so masturbatory.
It is. It's definitely appealing to your ego, but not only your ego, but it's just like, it's, oh, I'm doing such good, so it hits on the ego, it hits on the altruism, you know, like, come on now. It's
Right.
so transparent, and I think that I'm so happy that a lot of that has gone out of style.
I
for a
did
lot of things.
my
It sucks to say it that way, but
I did my ethics final in college on voluntourism.
mm, mm.
My ethics teacher didn't like it because she liked to go on those trips, so I didn't get a great grade. I
She
passed
felt called out.
a little bit.
She felt shots were fired. Yeah, no, I think it's something to be said for that mentality that Emma has, and I think it's very similar. She sees, her. I think she definitely puts herself up on a pedestal because she has those motivations to interfere and everything, and not like she doesn't do good. I just think it's not for the it's like not it's a means to an end.
Right.
And when I did take philosophy, of course, there was that whole thought of, doing good for the sake of doing good, not for the sake of feeling anything or benefiting from it. But, once you do that and you have those feelings associated with it, then people are just a means to an end for whatever you're fueling your own ego.
So we should talk about the fucking B plot, which
Paige's fucking hair
JT is like
and
super into Paige.
yeah.
And Toby's like, she's
You
out of
have
your
no
league. And he
what does he
has
call his
even.
system?
Oh, I wrote it down. It's the Isaac system. And I wrote
The
it down
Isaac
because it's
system.
creepy and gross. I
It
hate when they
is.
have Toby give future incel vibes.
Yeah. See, I feel like they didn't know. They didn't know.
They
And if they
hate
did know,
him.
Is it not like very Mark Zuckerberg of
It's
him
so
though?
Mark Zuckerberg of him.
extremely it's giving Mark Zuckerberg.
Toby invented hotornot.com, as it turns out.
Oh, Toby.
Exactly.
And he's serious about these, like the algorithm, like whatever
He's like, your
gathered a lot
perfect
of
match
data.
is Terry. And
Which
JT is like, no.
I need more of a challenge. And I'm like, JT, a challenge is a living, breathing human girl, okay?
Yeah.
Like, that's a challenge for you, young man. But, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, JT York said that.
Actually, Wayne Gretzky said that, and so did Michael Scott.
Oh my gosh, Wayne, I know both of those people, but I also don't.
He writes it on a whiteboard during a meeting. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and then like under it, like you would with a quote, Wayne Gretzky, and then under that, Michael Scott.
Oh my gosh, I have unintentionally brought us back to the office.
All roads lead back to the office, and I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh.
One thing that I noticed is JT still looks like a little kid, whereas Toby has come back like looking like you can see more like the man that Toby's gonna grow into. And
yes,
JT, it's not baby fat though. It's just JT's got, I don't know, JT's got a younger look about him and a younger energy. He does.
I feel like I that was one of my notes, is just looking at I couldn't find the production schedule, mostly because I didn't look that hard, but I was looking at the dates that the episodes aired. So, reasonably they've got to be shot within, a 6-month amount of time, whatever. So this cast, the transformation in about a year is insane. And I know kids grow like weeds, but just the fact that, some of them have gotten taller, some of them have gotten in their face, it's more like what we come to know them as, like, okay, this is how they look for the majority of the show. And JT is not there yet. Whereas Toby, I think he lost a little bit of his cheeks, like, and he's just a little bit more slimmer looking in the face, and he's not that much taller, but he does look a little bit longer, and it's definitely like he is emerging or like heading into puberty. Like, he's getting there. Now, I don't know what JT is doing, but he does spike his hair this season, so maybe he's feeling puberty on the cusp, but it's not quite coming for him yet.
It was funny because I'm like watching it and like Toby was nowhere on my Degrassi crush radar, because like you've got Craig, you've got Sean,
yeah, and I mean,
he
even
wasn't one of the cute Degrassi boys, right?
Yeah, Spinner, and I know that I read this somewhere.
Go ahead.
Oh, I read this somewhere about Shane, is that he watched the season 1 and he felt like he wasn't happy with his appearance, so that's why there's such a like dramatic shift in the way he looks. I think he looks a lot. I know, I was definitely like, but like
he's like a little bit chubbly in season 1, but it's literally because he's that age.
Right.
Where he's got like that one more growth spurt before he starts like looking like a teenager.
Absolutely. I think it's so sad. It definitely does, because it's just like he's still growing. Like and I think like adolescents are hard on themselves anyway, but like to see yourself on TV, I wouldn't have wanted to be on TV at 13 years old. Gosh. No. And to be able to look, and millions of people rewatch this every year. Like, this is an insanely popular show 20 years later. So I think it's crazy to.
Dude, it's like, I used to do like community theater, and like, I don't even want to watch the shitty recording that our director took with anybody else.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to watch my performance and Come Back Little Sheba, I will loan you the DVD. But I'm not watching
I'm not going to be there with you.
No.
100%. Like, I feel like if I was ever on a TV show, I just wouldn't watch it. But
I can't even like listen to this with anybody. Even Charlie, if he comes over to like edit, I'm like, okay, but I really can't.
I was gonna say our own podcast. Literally, as I've the couple real world people I've met and asked to listen, they've a couple people like my sister, my girlfriend's sister, she started listening to it, and when I looked up the episode for her, she started pressing play, and I'm like, girl,
no, not while I'm here.
No. Cut it off.
I have this.
I'm gonna leave the room.
I have this like stand-up performance that I did to open a burlesque show like years ago, and I love it. It's one of my favorite pieces I've ever written. It's hilarious and I look adorable. I don't ever need to watch it again. I'll send you the link. You can watch it far away from me. It's great. You can watch it far away from me.
And this is so irrelevant. I don't know why I'm thinking of it, and I hopefully it makes us turn a quarter, but I'm thinking of the moment in Scream where she's like, oh, I'll look out for your book, and she's like, I'll send you a copy, and then she's punching, bam,
and then
bitch went down.
McGowan later, I'll send you a copy, bam,
bam, bitch went down, bam, Sid, super bitch.
Sometimes this is a Scream podcast, which is relevant because Darcy's in Scream 4. But
Darcy is in Scream
4. Today, this is a Degrassi podcast, and we barely talked about the B plot.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well,
JT is into Paige, and Paige's hair is a mess, and she needs $30.
So, why doesn't she just clean out the garage?
Because
she's a prince. That's child labor. And my evil parents are making me clean out the garage for the rest. They gave you a solution to your problem. Okay?
Right.
They don't want you to be such a spoiled brat. So they're telling you, if you want more money that is not included in your allowance, you need to actually do some shit around the house for that money.
Right.
A novel concept. And then she's just like, no, I think I'll just take a bet for my friends instead, and like,
which like fine, but then they're so fucking mean. They're there for presumably the whole time kind of watching. As soon as Paige like lets down her guard
and starts
and is enjoying herself for a second, they pop up and they're like right in front of JT. They're like, here's your money, Paige.
But and like, and then so Hazel has to say, you look like you're actually having fun. Like, why do you have to be such a bitch?
Because like, let people... she's the token best friend character,
snarky best
who's just kind of gonna have whatever personality fits for the episode.
They decide to give her for that episode. It really, it's exactly what it is. They just
justice for Hazel Aden.
Really, because it's like she gets less like consistency and character than Terry does. At least Terry takes a stance to be,
Rick's
wishy-washy. Or, oh my gosh, Caroline, we are not there yet.
Go watch Cadet Kelly, because Andrea Lewis is in that, and she's about the same age, and she's amazing. And they
give her a character. she's she's actually, I mean, and kudos to Disney for shooting a number of these DComs in Canada so that we could have the lovely, cameos of various Degrassi characters.
Yeah,
Because
eventually we're gonna get our shit together to have like decom watch parties.
yeah, because there's a number of characters from Degrassi that just pop up in the background, and it's definitely a rabbit hole that you could fall down. But I mean, I really wish that they would have given a little bit more regard to how they just make Hazel be whatever they want her to be. But in this episode, she's a bitch. And Spinner, I mean, doesn't really have a lot to do. He's next to Jimmy. Oh, and right, I think we mentioned that the Jimmy Sean beef is alive and well.
Yeah.
They're just sitting in the hallway like two old men on top of something. I think on
No,
top
they're
of like a
sitting in desks. They're
newspaper.
in a classroom.
No, when they are in the hallway and Sean bumps into Craig.
No, I think they're in a classroom. They're in like their homeroom, but they're sitting right by the door. I could be
I
wrong.
thought they were in the hallway because he was he has a map. He's like,
Craig
is this
Craig
a
and
Degrassi?
Sean are. But I think Jimmy and Spinner are in a classroom.
There's like a wall there. Okay, but just the fact that they're sitting there drinking coffee like two old men, and it's like, you guys are in 9th grade.
And then he's like hanging out with Hazel and Paige, because he and Paige don't actually officially date still for a little while.
No, he's just assimilated into the friend group. They're all like a friend group now, I guess.
It's so funny though, because it seems like it is ever apparent that Paige and Spinner don't fucking like each other at all. Like, and not like don't have crushes on each other, but like don't enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, I think that they still didn't like, I mean, there's just not an alpha couple, I get, since Jimmy and Ashley broke up. So I don't know why they didn't think about other pairings. They're just like, let's stick with Spinner and Paige. Let's have them court for a while, and will they, won't they? But it's like nobody wants them to. Nobody ever wanted them to. I think that they were just the most, they were a couple that really didn't make sense, and it's literally just because he was there.
Right. I think it was like status symbol, which I guess probably makes sense for that age. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dating me was not a status symbol in 9th grade, so I don't know. But
I definitely can't relate. So it's, I mean, I feel like for me, the big part of the B plot is just that Paige is on her way to not being season 1 Paige anymore. And I'll take that.
Yeah.
I will take it, because I genuinely, like you said earlier, I enjoy the dynamic between JT and Paige. I think that they're sweet, and I mean, that continues. And I think this is a very good foundation for where they go in their friendship, because it ultimately becomes very important for Paige. And,
yeah,
I mean, it's a symbiotic.
I love their friendship, and I love the start of it, and I love, like, this is one of JT's more likable episodes.
It's like, I think he go, like, kind of like Paige, they give him a little bit more dimension. He's not just the menace, they give him that little bit of sweetness, which I do appreciate. And the fact that he shoots his shot, and it's like, yeah, I feel like my first date was always gonna end in a kiss. You'd be making my dreams come true. And it's really sweet. And she's like, no, but I date up, hun, like,
yeah,
sorry, like, this is just not gonna happen. But this is, this,
which, okay,
so this is a thing. We can be friends.
Spinner Mason is dating up.
Paige misspoke with that one.
Like, I don't know.
But I mean, most of her dating history, to be honest, she doesn't really date up until Alex Nunez. So that to me is dating up for her.
Like, Paige and Jimmy was a couple we never got that would have made sense.
Yes.
More sense than Paige and Ashley ever do.
Their
Jimmy
little
and
chemistry last season, Jimmy and Paige on the Romeo and Juliet episode, was like the most chemistry that any pair really had last season. And I mean, they just, it's not written on chemistry, which sucks, because I know that the writers noticed, oh, this person can act, let's give them storylines and etc. So they gave more storylines to the actors they felt like could handle them. Okay, if you notice one actor and another actor seem to hit it off, and whenever they're in scenes together there's a little spark, okay, you should foster that, because that's the kind of thing you can't teach, that's the kind of thing you can't curate or set up, is chemistry. If people have it, they have it. If they don't, they don't. And I think it would have been really interesting to see in season 2 Paige and Jimmy date because of what happened with Paige and Ashley. And we know that Jimmy wants the kind of girl that is popular and girly and like all-American cheerleader type. That's the kind of girl he really wanted Ashley to be, because he thought she I think even when she was, season 1 Ashley, it wasn't exactly his jam, but like he liked her. But I think his type is more about Paige. I think I said it last season too. Why didn't they date Degrassi writers? Like, y'all had an opportunity and you just
and instead you forced Spinner and Paige on us, and
into a loveless marriage.
Better people with other people.
Surely could have. They go on way too long, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more like a friendship that really, I think that they were always better friends for each other, if anything. But I feel like they even have to develop their friendship. Like, they don't even even while they're dating, their friendship is just not good. I think you should be friends with the person you're dating, but that is a novel concept for teenagers. So yeah, I think that's. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we can move on into segments and put this baby to bed.
Yeah, we definitely talked about a lot of it. We talked a lot about Craig.
We talked a lot about Craig, and we talked a lot about 6 Feet Under.
But Craig was the big, and we did, and I feel like those are two. I mean, they connect. We somehow got.
All shows really come back to 6 Feet Under if you try hard enough.
They do. But something that I have not been tracking, that hopefully you have, Caroline, is the Hun count.
You already even said it, my friend. It's when Paige, after the date, says to JT, like, she gives him the kiss on the cheek, and then she's like, "Sorry, Hun, I only date up. It's nothing personal."
Oh, okay. All right. See, I completely did not realize she had a Hun in there.
You literally said the Hun when you, like, we're talking about the line.
I say the Hun?
You said the Hun.
All right, well.
It's in the watch guide to pay attention for Huns, because I can't track them all myself.
I will pay more attention to Huns. It's just like, as long as we're, I am bad about that. And I guess I'm good about it at the same time. So we got one Hun in here.
Did you have any shots fired, my friend?
Shots fired.
You can go first. I don't think I have any.
So my two were Sean, when Craig bumps into him in the hallway, being like, "Is Degrassi a high school and a blind school this year?" And then Craig says something about being lost, and he's like, "Buy a map." And it's just like, it's that angsty Sean shit that I love.
Yes, definitely.
And then Paige showing up to their date incognito was shots fired.
Yes, absolutely. That is funny. Definitely Paige showing up incognito. I guess I'll give a shots fired to the props department. Once again, I'm just going to assume that it was a mistake to throw in the VHS box of VeggieTales for a teenager and his dad. I'm just going to assume that was a mistakey poo on your part. Degrassi props department. But if it wasn't, I'm firing a shot. Either way, I'm firing a shot.
Yeah, do better.
Because you could have thrown anything else in there. You shouldn't have decided to throw VeggieTales. But yeah.
No.
And I mean, it's not an easy segue into my favorite corner, but my favorite corner is the fashion corner. I think that there is some solid fashion in this episode. I think that the fashion is getting a little better. First, I really did like Emma's little polo. I thought it was cute, and it definitely did not make me nostalgic for the time where we all thought that wearing a polo was a look. The look. I just it's a cute polo though. It's like striped with I think pink and green, and
Mm-hmm.
it's got a little heart. I don't know that emblem, but maybe Rock. I don't think it's Roxy. Whatever. There's an emblem of some kind on there, and it is cute. She's got a couple cute outfits this season. I mean this episode. I also like her little green cheetah
Yeah.
print with the
Was it cheetahs?
corresponding
Leopard.
I
I thought it
thought
was
it's
like
either cheetah or leopard.
sunflowers. Are you talking about the
Mm-mm.
shirt she was wearing when she was babysitting Angie?
No, it's a green.
Oh,
Not
okay.
that blue one. There's a green shirt, and it's like I'm pretty sure it's cheetah print
Okay,
because
I must
she
have
has
missed
the little
that.
scrunchies in her hair that are green too. But then yeah, when they go to when it's Spike's party and they're across the street with Angie like
Mm-hmm.
coloring, yeah, then she has like a little blue shirt on with like little puffy cap sleeves that are
Well, no,
cute. It's cute.
I liked when she and Craig pick Angie up from school and then she's doing her math homework and she's wearing, it's not a tank top, but it's sleeveless and
Hmm.
it's like white, but then on the front of it, there's like a picture of it's green and it looks like it's like
Yeah,
sunflowers, but green.
so we're talking about the same shirt, but it is not sunflowers. It is an animal
Interesting.
print.
So this is
I definitely paused on on that outfit because I really liked it. They are not sunflowers.
crazy. It's okay. This is very like, is the dress blue and gold or
For me, the dress was always black and blue. I never saw gold and white. So
I don't even remember what I saw. I think I saw like, fuck that dress. I don't
yeah,
care.
that dress divided the nation.
So bad. That was like the worst summer.
Sean's still rocking that Canadian tuxedo.
Hmm.
I think he rides it till the wheels fall off, and then he comes back as gangsta Sean. So this era's
I
fine for me.
speaking of eras, Spinner is in his Frosted Tips era, which
He
I think
is.
is one, or his Hera as it
Hmm.
were. And
He
I think
goes
this
through a
is
couple.
one of his best Heras, quite frankly.
Do you not like the one where he's got like the good Charlotte
The like
upcut?
swoopy.
So I actually
No, I
really like that.
hate the
I
swoopy.
really like that hairstyle on him, and I
Mm-mm.
think I'm in the minority. He's so damn cute with that hair. I love, but that's me. I like
You know
boys with
what?
hair. I
That's
like the Leo DiCaprio hair.
I
That is
like
so.
I like Manny with the blonde bangs, so like I'm not gonna
Oh my
judge.
gosh, we both got really horrible opinions.
It's not my favorite by a long shot, but I think she looks
Oh,
cute.
it's not that. It's like she can't not look cute, but damn, it's such a bad choice. Like for her skin complexion, no. Oh my gosh, the hair is really bad. I actually think Emma's hair this season though, or this episode though, I don't think I'm gonna have too many things to say about her hair. She's got her hair together. She's got
Yeah,
her
she's got
hairdos
her hair
together.
together. She remembered that her mom is a hairdresser,
Mm-hmm.
and her mother remembered that she was a hairdresser and shouldn't let her daughter leave the fucking house looking like that.
Yes. And she's now rocking little hoops. Emma's now
Hmm.
rocking little hoops, and it's a little touch of maturity that I think looks very good on her.
Terry looked really cute too. Terry had bigger hoops. They had her in like
Hmm.
really shitty sneakers, which ruined an
Yeah.
otherwise really cute outfit. Although it
Yes.
was entirely too like monochromatic for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
all light blue. But
Yeah,
she looked cute and her
I
hair
think
and
they,
makeup were good.
yes, I like her hair and makeup, but they definitely like the layers they put her in were just
Hmm.
like she looks a little bit like just like not her outfit's not as cohesive as they dressed her in the past.
Right.
So I don't know if it's that because she's just not supposed to be standing out, so they don't dress her as well. I don't know
But
what
just
it
at
is.
least give her some shoes that work with her outfit. Like, even if
Yeah,
they'd just given her like a pair of Keds, but
that would
she's
have been
wearing
better.
like exercise sneakers.
Nurse shoes,
Or like they look like dad white New Balances.
yes, they do with the little foam
I
at the
assume she's
bottom.
got
Yeah, they're not.
like borrowed her dad's socks too. It's not okay.
It's not cute. They don't do her right, but they actually start dressing Manny more individualistic this season.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got a cute little green keyhole top in the same scene where they're all across the street at the party. Her keyhole top is very cute, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that also you only see the top of it. It's like a little scrunched I think it's probably like a baby doll shirt,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like got that scrunched tube top sort of thing,
Yeah.
that vibe going on in the first scene. And I appreciate that they're realizing that Manuela Santos does not play second fiddle to anybody. You need to dress
Right.
her like she's about to have some storyline soon, okay?
I really liked Craig's leather jacket. Not
Mm-hmm.
It
I like it a
wasn't
lot.
necessarily that it looked good. Like, it didn't fit him quite right, but it was like I felt like it was a really, like, they used it to help paint the picture of Craig.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, and I think it not fitting quite right is part of that. Like, he's a scared little boy in a scary world trying to be strong and tough and not
Yeah.
scared. And I thought that was really well used. What I did not think was good was Joey, the outfit that he wore to his dealership and then to Spike's party,
Mm-hmm.
where his tie was like the same color as his shirt, but just like shiny. It was not good. That's not how you do ties, Joey Jeremiah. It's not.
It's definitely not a good look. And like I to bring it back to Craig, I actually wondered, is Craig like, I know they're a very similar like shade of flannel shirt, but it kind of looks like he's wearing the same flannel shirt the entire episode.
He might be. I don't think that's that weird though, because the flannel's
No, it's
essentially
not
like a
super
jacket.
weird. It's not super weird. I think it's just like it was tripping me out a little bit, and I wanted to know if I was alone in thinking that, they really dressed him very like he's got a lot of dark. He's probably the only character that dresses this dark right now.
Right.
So it's not a spoiler. It comes very somebody else takes a turn to the dark wardrobe. But also we did not mention Ashley at all in this episode, but she has a little bit of a fashion shift in that her hair is longer and she is not dressing like, she's dressing in darker colors, more, what is that pattern, that damn paisley shit.
It's still like she's trendy.
She's trendy, but it's not like popular girl trendy anymore.
No, it's like the like almost, it's like the you can't afford to shop where the popular girls shop, so you got your shirt at JCPenney or Walmart. And it's like supposed to look like the popular girl trendy shit, but it's not.
Oh, I did want to shout out Spike's star earrings. I thought that they were adorable, and I really miss those wired earrings. I missed them. I had hearts. So
well, they're probably coming back. Go check your nearest Claire's.
Oh my. Damn it. If I go into Claire's is having a resurgence. I watched a whole video about it, how they died, and then they were like, oh hey, the 2000s are back. We're back, baby.
Yeah, no, Dylan and I went to the mall when we were in Indiana, and there was a Claire's, and I didn't go in it, but I was like, oh, because Claire's is dead here. So I have not a Heather Sinclair hypothesis, but I do have a Heather Sinclair clue, because we have a spotting of a part of Heather Sinclair, which is the only way we ever see her.
I know.
Miss Kwan calls her up, and she's wearing cargo pants. It looks like a dude
walking
up to do.
Yeah, in the long shot, when Craig is talking, I paused it, but he is strategically walking in front of the left upper, like the two rows. There's two rows of students. In the front, it's all the students that are relevant to us, and in the back, it's like the filler characters, and you can't see like the left four people because Craig is standing there, and I believe Heather Sinclair's over there
wearing her cargo pants.
Heath Sinclair, maybe, like,
I think this lends credence to my theory from way back in like episode 2, that Heather Sinclair is the character in Family Politics that is filming everybody, that has the boy hands.
Yes, we definitely did talk about the boy hands, and I will support that theory. The twist is it's not Heather Sinclair, it's Heath Sinclair, and yeah.
Maybe she's just kind of butch, Avis.
Well, first of all, those cargo pants definitely could have been a couple sizes too big. Oversized is a thing, so maybe it's possible.
Right? Maybe she was
Just
going for that Gwen Stefani thing of like
which is a
big
look.
baggy pants, and then she's actually, we can't
Just
see it, but she's just wearing like
a
a
bralette.
rasta color fucking bikini top.
Hmm. Oh God, I love that look. I love that look so much. Yeah, I mean that's the clue. I
And
100%.
that's
Yeah,
that's what
I
we've
got
got on that.
that's what we
And
got.
then the last few things to do are to hand out a couple of awards and ask the question. So did you have shining stars this episode?
Yes. So my shining stars, though I talked a lot of shit about these three people, are Joey, Sean, and Emma. I think that they all played a crucial role in ultimately saving Craig's life, and
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's commendations needed for that. Even though I'm gonna talk my shit, and I would throw Angie in there, but she just a little baby, so I'm not gonna. you, she gets a little star on her forehead, but you know.
Yeah, she gets a gold star. A participation trophy, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you would.
I
Mm-hmm.
agree with that, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Joey is both a shining star and a super bummer. I
Yeah.
think
Mm-hmm.
he misses a lot of very obvious signs. I think he,
Mm-hmm.
not intentionally, but I think he puts Craig in danger.
Yes, he 100% does. Not intentionally, but he does. Yeah.
And I think I get the way that he responded when he found Craig and Angie.
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand that. You don't know this kid that well. Like, yeah, maybe he was there every other week when Julia was alive,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been 2 years, and it's been 2 years where kids really kind of change a lot.
Right.
And you don't know this kid. His dad doesn't want him around, and he was maybe about to kidnap your daughter. And I get freaking out in
Mm-hmm.
the moment, but like, as you reflect on that, you need to realize something is very wrong.
Right. And I 100% agree that he is both a shining star and super bummer. And honestly, that is why I had so much so much shit to talk because of what he had to go through to get to be a shining star. But
Mhm.
once he's out of the bullshit that he must go through to get there, he definitely redeems himself.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of crow to eat, in my opinion, for just the way that he was prior to that.
Mhm.
So I will agree with that super bummer.
But I think Sean is much like Toby in the season 1 premiere, wherein
Absolutely.
without Sean, that kid would be done.
Absolutely. He definitely, it's 100% like the first episode of season 1, just the fact that they banded together and stop, like it's the same sort of dynamic, like the team assemble and like
Mhm.
let's go save Craig. And it's definitely a similar dynamic, and I mean it's kind of fitting that Emma gets to be in the cavalry this time and assist in
Mhm.
saving someone like she was saved last season. So
Yeah.
100%. And yeah, I'm not gonna throw Emma in a super bummer because she really did not bum me out. She just annoyed me, and
No,
my
she
tolerance for her annoyance is just very high.
she
I just
overstepped definitely, but I do think that her heart was in the right place, and I think it was a
hmm
just cause. I think
yes.
she just, Emma would be better if she asked adults for help
Oh, totally.
early on in things.
Yes.
Um and she's never going to do that, and that's fine.
That's fine. That's just what we
It
got
is
to
what
work
it
with
is.
here.
It is what it is. And you deal with the consequences and the social diseases and whatever the fuck else, because you can't just
um
ask for help. But I get it. I get it. I get being that age and not knowing how to say like I'm in over my head.
yeah. And I definitely, for me, the super bummers are, I will agree with Joey, but I also have to throw in because they are not plot devices. They are characters who will come back and have to deal, and not even have to deal, but they just were shitty. It's got to be Spinner and Hazel. because they're just the Bobbsey twins of bullshit
They're
and
just so
rudeness.
unnecessarily mean.
They
It's
are.
one thing that they're like fucking with Paige, who's their friend, who is still kind of insufferable at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and who like is always up on her high horse and is showing vulnerability and like whatever. Like, okay, fine, be dicks to Paige, but JT's not doing anything other than shooting his shot,
Right.
and like they're not even just making fun of it. Like, that was hurtful.
Yes, and they bummed me the fuck out. They really did. It's just like, guys, you're better than this. Stop being such big fucking bummers. So yeah, those two bitches
Super
go on there.
bummer.
Yeah, they're super bummers. Super bum me out.
Do you think we can just get the audio clip of Anya being like super bummer and use that for the sound for super
That would be
bummers?
lovely. I think that would be awesome.
I think that would be great.
Yes. Well, yeah, now that we've discussed our shining stars and super bummers, it's time to ask the question, did it go there?
Does it go there?
What do you think?
I think it went there. I think it
100%.
went there. We've got abuse, we've got kidnapping, we've got attempted suicide.
With the train. I don't think we see that in the rest of the series. Not to spoil anything, but I'm pretty sure a train doesn't come into play like this.
No, and that's like, I mean, and like poor Craig is so far gone. You know what I mean? Because like not only is he thinking of killing himself, but he's like overcome with the impulse to do it in a way that's going to traumatize his friend.
That's like, right. That's what, yep. It's definitely, and like that is the indication that something, like you said earlier, something else is going on. And I think that they definitely laid the framework with that, playing chicken with the train scene is that, yes, you're feeling out of control. There's a lot going on in your life. You're being, abused. But that response, there's something else going on for you to impulsively, like there's an impulse, lack of impulse control and just lack of like touch with reality that is forcing him into doing these things that are extreme. He would have fucked Sean up for. Does Sean need that? Did Sean deserve that?
No.
The hell, it like just episode 1 and 2 of this season smacked me in the face.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, that's how I know it went there. If it leaves me breathless, if I'm like, wait, and this show is 20 years old. I've seen this episode multiple times and I'm on the edge of my seat like shit.
When he's packing the bag, when his dad, the first time that I watched through, because like I kind of passively watched Degrassi and then I come back and I take my notes and then hopefully I have enough time before like we record to go back through and really, really watch and make sure I didn't miss anything. And so the first time I watched, I didn't realize that like Craig's sitting at the table playing with golf balls and the golf clubs on the table. And so when I saw his dad going up the stairs, I'm like, is that a fucking golf club? Did he grab a fucking golf club?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And because I hadn't been, I'd been like playing Angry Birds or something at first. And missed him.
That took you out.
Like with the club in the kitchen. Sometimes you just have to passively watch the shows that you've watched.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I definitely get that. I think it's just like, I mean, this question gets easier and easier to answer. I think for me, it's because we're just getting so much, like I'm so excited for this season. It's a really good season. There's a lot that happens. There's a lot to talk about. And I really just think that I don't know how many episodes aren't going to go there. Not even to be.
I mean, and
there's maybe a handful.
And there's a handful. Fine.
It's like because the filler,
if every like.
But like even reading like some of the blurbs for this season, I'm like, oh shit, that does happen this season. Damn, that does happen this season. Oh my gosh.
Like I would have been like a freshman when season 2 was airing, and like I wasn't dealing with any of this shit.
You're like, can't relate.
Like not like the heavy hitting shit, you know what I mean? And so like I think it's good that not every episode was like that, because how stressful would that have been? To just sit down
It's,
every week
yeah,
and watch Degrassi, and every week somebody's like getting beaten by
getting
their
beat by
dad,
their dad.
sexually assaulted, or
Yeah.
so stabbed. Not that
There's
that happens to anybody,
not
but
that
if it
that
did,
happens at all. Um yeah, it's definitely it there. I just think, it the tone that these two episodes set is very fitting for the season, because they're like, all right, half this cast is in ninth grade now, we're gonna up the ante, like
right?
y'all are getting some of the y'all are getting some of the meat and potatoes. So it definitely, it's gonna keep going there, but
It's gonna keep going there, and sometimes it's gonna make a pit stop at like Grandpa's Cheese Barn, and that's fine, because you got to get out of the car sometimes and stretch your legs at Grandpa's Cheese Barn.
I mean, I feel like we should continue to use the analogy of, once we get to the episodes where they are stretch your legs episodes, like we've hit the part of the road trip where we're making a pit stop and we're going to stretch our legs because,
Yeah,
you know,
stop at Wall Drug or the world's largest statue of a cow or whatever's on the way to your destination, and just take a minute.
oh my goodness. Well,
Well,
on that note,
on that note, let's put this baby to bed.
thank you for listening to your mom's podcast. Next week, we'll be talking about Girls Just Want to Have Fun, in which Emma has no fun, and Karma Chameleon, where Ashley enters her villain era.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Your Mom's Podcast. This episode of Your Mom's Podcast was made possible in part by Root Beer, the Emma Nelson Babysitting Agency, and support from listeners like you. If you'd like to further support our show, you can follow our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at YMPadcast and TikTok at Your Mom's Padcast. You can also visit our website at www.padcast.com. Your Mom's Podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you feel so inclined, subscriptions and reviews are another great way to support the show. If you'd like to support us financially, you can also subscribe to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/yourmomspadcast. And remember, that's Padcast. Pahdcast. Thank you.